The Book of Boba Fett. This show was okay. What would have been really cool is if this was actually just a movie. Originally, they were wanting to do a Boba Fett movie, like way back in the day, like way back when they were announcing, the fact that they were going to be doing Star Wars stories, like Solo, Star Wars story announced, and like Rogue One, and then back when Obi-Wan was just going to be like a movie, or I guess like a trilogy at that point. And then they had Boba Fett with Josh Trank directing, but then, he got fired after all the controversy he had, like after, I guess wrecking a hotel or stuff like that. And then obviously the failure of Fan Four Stick, as I call it. And then, I guess the project was shelved until now, where they're actually going to have like a series instead of just a movie. And, I thought Boba Fett's appearance in Mandalorian Season 2 was like actually just one of the best episodes of Season 2. It was really cool just seeing like how amazing he was. And, just in my opinion, in the original trilogy, and, you can hate me all you want, but I thought Boba Fett was a little bit overrated. I honestly thought Jango Fett was a more compelling character. So don't hate me too much. But as soon as I saw him in the episode of Mandalorian, I was just like, oh dang, yep, Boba Fett is awesome. Like he pretty much took down an entire garrison of stormtroopers all by himself. So I was really looking forward to seeing him in the Book of Boba Fett, because Mandalorian Season 2 kind of had that post-credit scene of Boba killing Bib Fortuna and then taking the Hutt throne. So I thought it was really going to be kind of like, like a Godfather type series in the Star Wars universe. So I was really looking forward to it. But the fact that they made him more of like an honorable mafia head in a way, I don't know, it was like a little bit of a letdown in my opinion. It would have been cool to kind of see that grittier, I know I keep using that word gritty, but I feel like in here, it really applies just because of the tone that they set in Mandalorian Season 2 of how Boba Fett is, would have been really cool. And I guess there were like rumors about, there's like a lot of like script tampering. I guess like John and Dave had ideas for what they wanted to do with Boba Fett at the end of Mando Season 2. And then, I guess Kathleen and the story team, kind of put their fingerprints all over it, and they kind of, we got to make Boba family friendly. We can't have him be evil or anything. Or, be like an anti-hero or whatnot. So they have to make him like an honorable leader of this town, of the Hutt clan and whatnot. So I thought that was kind of like a missed opportunity. It really could have been really like I said before, like a Godfather or like Goodfellas in the Star Wars universe and everything. So I was like really looking forward to that. As far as like positives and stuff, like I really appreciated like the flashbacks they had. Like I was like in awe when I saw Boba Fett like in the Sarlacc pit, him fighting his way out and everything. Like thought that was really cool. And then seeing that hand pop up, that image that we've been always wanting to see, at least, the fans since Return of the Jedi in 83 have always wanted to see, like, how did Boba Fett get out of the Sarlacc pit? And then we finally got to see it. I thought they nailed all that. I mean, the Sarlacc pit, and then, meeting up with the Tuskens, and, kind of being involved in their culture a little bit more. It was really cool seeing more of, like, the Tusken culture because, as far as we've seen just seen kind of, like, hints. They're kind of like these savages and everything. They're vicious, mindless creatures, as was said in Attack the Clones. But it was cool seeing, like, how, they kind of have this, like, spiritual, honorable side. And, we kind of see, like, how Boba got that staff that he had, like kind of Tusken staff in Mando, how he kind of met up with like Fennec Shan. I thought, all the flashback stuff was cool. It's just all the stuff in the present. He was like, oh, I gotta get back to my Bacta tank. I've been injured, I gotta, it's time for a bath. I thought, that was a little kind of weird. So I feel like they could have kind of delved more deeply into the gangster aspect of it. I thought the one scene that was really cool was like where they're actually taking out the members of all these different factions all at once. And then they realize like, oh shoot, they're coming after me next. I thought that was really like kind of reminded me of The Godfather, where they're taking out the heads of the 5 families. Other than that, I think if it was just like a movie that focused on Boba Fett being like that kind of like dark, intense character that was set in Mandalorian Season 2, would have been really cool. Kind of like what they originally set out to do. If they were to make it a series, just have it be about Boba Fett and not really, jump to different storylines, different characters. Like the fact that, I'm not complaining about this, but by like episode like 5 and 6, where they kind of completely go away from Boba Fett's character, and we pick up with the Mandalorian getting that N1 fighter and flying off, and then, meeting up with Luke Skywalker and with Ahsoka. Obviously that could have been in Mando Season 2 if they wanted to, or beginning of Mando Season 3. But the fact that, Boba Fett's show got hijacked by Mando, and, it was like, it's going to be the Mandalorian spinoff show. And then, okay, oh shoot, we got to get back to Boba Fett. I thought that was kind of an interesting choice. So I think if I were to change the show, maybe like either just make it a movie or maybe like, I don't know, like a 6-episode show that was just about Boba Fett, dealing with the Star Wars underworld, just being a full-on gangster. Just cut the Power Rangers out. I know they had their own name, but I'm going to call them the Power Rangers. Just cut them out completely. So those were my overall thoughts on Boba Fett. I guess we're not getting a Season 2, so maybe he'll appear again, and maybe John and Dave will kind of adopt the tone that they had from Mando Season 2 and kind of make him awesome again. So we'll see. All right, now we move on to Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is like another show that I was kind of like, I guess, 50-50 on, kind of like with Book of Boba Fett, where, there's like some great, amazing stuff in it, but then there's also some of the stuff that was like, why why did that have to be done? I think the highlight of the show was definitely Hugh McGregor. Like, he was definitely the best part of the prequels as Obi-Wan. I thought he was great. He gave like a really compelling performance. I think it was just like, kind of like I was saying before with Book of Boba Fett, if this was just a movie, because I know they originally had it as a movie, and then it's like, oh no, this is going to be a trilogy, which I guess technically they did with the show, because there's like 6 episodes and they're all like roughly an hour each, except for the 4th episode, which is just like half hour of in and out and done, but I'll get to that later. So really, like, the show really is like a trilogy in a way, and it really could have been really, really compelling. I guess my biggest problem with the show was the character of Reva. The fact that, kind of like how like Mando hijacked Book of Boba Fett, like I feel like she kind of hijacked this whole series in a way. She could have just been, this really cool Inquisitor character. I mean, I didn't mind the fact that they gave her like a backstory of being, one of the younglings during the whole Jedi Temple purge. She was one who got away, and then eventually, she infiltrated the Inquisitors, became an Inquisitor, and, kind of rose up in the ranks in order to get close to Darth Vader and then kill him off. I think that's like a compelling story from there. But I think if they just started off with that, have that be like the opening scene of episode 1 or something, and then kind of go into her story, I think would have been cool. I think the fact that, they kind of start off her character as this intense Inquisitor, and then, the fact that she's like, Obi-Wan, I know all about Anakin and all this stuff. It's like, wait, what? And then you don't really find that out until like later on, be like halfway through the series and everything. I think was kind of a mistake in a way. If you're going to make the show about Reva, just have her storyline be introduced at the beginning of the season and then kind of roll it out as the show goes on. Either that, or just have her own series in general, which maybe they'll do, since at the end of the series she just kind of she kind of just like runs off into like, the twin sunset and everything, trying to find her own way, even though it kind of contradicts a lot of the events in A New Hope. Or I guess now Luke knows that there's Inquisitors like after him or something. But anyway, yeah, I thought, Reva was like a fine character. I just wish her backstory was just introduced a little bit earlier on in the show, just so we kind of empathize with her, kind of understand like where she's coming from, and then, would be, on her side as she's kind of trying to rise up through the ranks of the Inquisitors and, take out Darth Vader, which, obviously won't happen. But just to see like her like try to attempt to do it would be really cool. So that's like really one of the things I would change about Obi-Wan, is that, just having just more Reva backstory at the front of the show rather than like dish it out over time. Because obviously it's called Obi-Wan Kenobi, so we kind of came for Obi-Wan. We want to see that rematch between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, which we got, which I thought like, the initial fight that they had was pretty good. I think that was like the end of episode 3 or something. But it was just weird that the fact that like Darth Vader used the Force on Obi-Wan and then kind of threw him into the fire, and he just, instead of kind of like rolling him around and everything, he's just like okay, well now I'm just gonna head out. It's like, well, like, why don't you just like kill him from there? It's like, you're gonna like let him burn. It's like, why don't you like let him like suffer a little bit more, instead of just like okay, I'm just gonna put it down and then head off after that. So I thought that was kind of a little bit of a contradiction. And then like the rematch at the end of episode 6 obviously couldn't have been as epic as Revenge of the Sith, since it's 10 years later. Neither one of them have fought in a lightsaber duel, or at least film and television wise we haven't. I know there's like a bunch of stuff in the comic books with Darth Vader, which I haven't read, but I assume he hasn't had as an intense of a lightsaber duel as he had with Obi-Wan. So I thought that was like, it was a little underwhelming, just in my opinion, the rematch. But I know it wasn't supposed to be about the action, it was really supposed to be about the drama going on. And I think the fact that when Obi-Wan sliced open Darth Vader's helmet, we see Anakin's eye, and we see that he's still a human being in there, but he's gone. Mentally he's just gone. Anakin's not there, and now it's just Darth Vader. I think they nailed that. So when they do have that rematch in A New Hope, it's like, we understand, Anakin's dead, and now it's just Vader at the forefront. So now it's not really as emotional. It's like, now I need to take out this enemy. I'm going to train your son to take you out eventually. And we obviously see what goes happens with that. But at least with this show, you can kind of understand why these characters feel the way they do about each other. And I thought that the flashback to the kind of Attack the Clones era of Anakin and Obi-Wan was really, really cool. Seeing all that would have been really cool if we saw a full episode just about young Anakin and Obi-Wan build up their friendship, build up their somewhat rivalry they have with each other. I thought would have been really cool. And then another thing I thought was kind of a missed opportunity is that we didn't really get much of Vader in this show. I would have been fine if they kind of reduced Reva's role down a little bit more and they kind of gave more for Hayden Christensen, Darth Vader to do, but Yeah, so obviously that was like a missed opportunity with that. It's a show about Obi-Wan, but it's really about Reva. You can just call this Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Reva story, or something like that, because it just really wasn't about Obi-Wan. It was really just Reva's show in a way. But yeah, I guess, yeah, more positive things. Like, I love young Leia, the actress who played young Leia. I thought she nailed the tone for Carrie Fisher's Princess Leia in A New Hope. She was great. It was cool seeing Alderaan. It was cool seeing Bail Organa and his wife, kind of see more of that culture. You know, there was just a lot of moments in the show where I'm just like, oh, I can't believe I'm actually seeing this. And then there's also moments where I'm like, I can't believe I'm actually seeing this. So yeah, kind of like with Book of Boba Fett, it's kind of like a mixed bag. Like, when it was working, but then when it wasn't, it's just like, yeah, this is not going well. So yeah, overall, I think if this was just a 2.5 hour movie just about Obi-Wan and the main antagonist being Darth Vader, this could have been a really, really cool movie. So yeah, that's really the only real thing I would change about it, instead of kind of stretching it out into a series and, having subplots that, aren't really as compelling in my opinion. Oh yeah, and the little end tag with Qui-Gon, I thought it was fine. I think it would have been cool if that was at the end of episode 5, and that's kind of what inspires Obi-Wan to get back into the fight and, take on Darth Vader and, save Luke and everything. But they didn't. They kind of, Obi-Wan already had his arc, and then Qui-Gon appears, and then it's like, oh, hey, I'm here to give you some encouragement at the last second. It's like, oh, Master, I'm already my full self. Oh, but I can tell you about joining the Force, become a Force ghost just like me. And they're like, oh, okay. Even though Yoda already brought that up at the end of Revenge of the Sith, how that can already be done, but I guess I can do it now at the end of this series. I mean, that'll probably help me on 10 years later when I get struck down. And Darth Vader becomes the master now. But yeah, anyway, yeah, those are my overall thoughts on Obi-Wan. It was, yeah, another kind of hit or miss show for me. When it was working, when it wasn't, not really. And yeah, that could have just been a movie, so yeah.